Hi there everybody, it's the 15th of February in the orchard. It's a sunny day and here's just a little bit of a pruning video. We've got a friend here. This is the dog of a friend who Julia was engaged to do a bit of help. Her mother gave her some birthday money and she spent it on employing a friend called Natasha, who's this professional gardener who's coming and doing some work with us. This is her dog. And we're doing some pruning today. Doing some pruning, and these are some older trees. These here, this is 2 rows of Egremont russet on Malling Merton 106. A few people have been asking what rootstocks are my trees on. Nearly all of my trees are on 106, and they've mainly been grown as open centred dwarf bushes, and this one's been pruned. There's a big pile of prunings there. What we're doing with the prunings is we're taking the big bits of wood that are, arbitrarily sort of, 1.25 inches, sort of, 2 centimetres thick, and putting them away to dry out for the wood burning stove. And the smaller bits we're piling up, and then we'll burn them. And I know they make great barbecue wood, and we've got all we need for barbecue. So just pruning the trees. These trees are what, 20 years old now, aren't they? About 20 years. And so I'll just prune this one. This one hasn't been pruned. So anyway, I can hand the camera to Julia and just keep it pointed at me. And put some gloves on. Lots of folks have asked, am I well? Where have I been? Yeah, I'm 63, I'm reasonably well. I'm not as well as I was when I was 43, but I'm struggling along. And why haven't I been posting much? There's a couple of reasons I haven't been posting much. One, I've not really got anything more to say about fruit growing than I've already said. Okay, I've posted about 500 videos here over the last 8 or 10 years, and I'm not going to keep repeating what I've said many times before. Also, I put it all in a book, Tales from an English Orchard, which you can get for $5 or equivalent from Amazon as a download. So when people ask me, very kindly ask me questions I've answered 20 or 30 times before, I don't have the time to answer each one. I've answered them all in the book or in previous videos. Anyway, so, and I'm doing lots of other things outside the orchard. So, gonna just do these trees. There's 2 trees here. There's another one here. Which one shall I prune first? Let's prune this one first.
Yeah, okay. The basic shape's good on that, but it's got some overlong branches now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Okay, now this branch
a bit congested.
one thing. This is just in the way, and we can manage without this. Now somebody's going to say, oh, you should grow these trees as pyramids. I know all about that. We planted these the way we planted them, as we saw fit. Okay, I'm just going to take this branch out. This is the old-fashioned way. Basically, we're going with, for the sake of argument, I'm going to start a pile of prunings there. This is the old-fashioned way. If you read the books from the 20th century, and I've got a big collection of fruit growing books, professional and amateur, from the 20th century, so just taking this one out, then you will discover that the dwarf open-centred tree was the industry standard for a great part of the 20th century. We're taking this one clean out, and the way I prune, essentially, I'll prune 3 trees. It'll probably make this quite a long video. I'm not going to cut this wood up for firewood now because that'll prolong the video needlessly. Basically, a bit that sort of size. I'll just show you a bit that sort of size. I'm going to. That's just about big enough to be worth keeping. Any thinner than that, we're not going to keep. That'll be stored. And you see, what I'm going for is an open centre. I don't want branches that are too low, because they become problematic when we're taking the mower around. You'll notice, by the way, that I'm just using a saw here. I've got secateurs in my pocket, and therefore I use a Silky Fox Gontaro saw, Felco number 8 pruners, that's all I use. I'll come back later and use the secateurs as necessary, because I think it's just more efficient for me to come round with the saw and then come round later. Come round behind me, Jill, and have a look here. These trees are growing into each other, they may be a little bit too close. What am I going to do here? So I make a big cut. I tend to make, when I'm pruning, a relatively small number of quite big cuts. Again, I'll saw this bit off, big bit off later. That's big enough for the wood burner, so's that. The rest of it will dry out and we'll burn it in March. I'm just going to make a cut just below a fruit bud, fruit spur there. We pulled out of the farmers markets 5 years ago for a number of reasons, which are all discussed in my book. We're keeping the orchard on. We're trying to simplify management. Take this one out as well. We're pruning these partly so we can get round them easily with the ride-on mower. In the centre of the tree. It's just so important to let the flow of air and light through the centre of the tree. All the more so as we don't spray anymore. We stopped spraying. I haven't changed my mind about using crop protection chemicals, and I don't want to have an argument about that with anybody. Basically, the public will not accept fruit that's got maggots in it or scab on it. If you think they will, then try and sell them some. You know, best of luck. Spraying's a nasty job, especially as the industry, you know, that produces machines and stuff, has sort of left behind the small grower. You can't get anything in terms of pesticide application, crop protection chemicals. You can't get anything between a 3-gallon backpack sprayer, which is very slow and laborious and hard work, and you know, a 9,000 litre tractor towed machine, which would cost as much as this orchard is worth. Okay, well that's about finished that. I've got to walk around it slowly, Julie, just to get a view. See, essentially, I've taken out the lower branches to stop, you know, which get in our way when we're using the ride-on mower, and I've taken out the middle branches, which is throwing my hat through the tree, to allow air and light. I'll probably need to take off a few of the higher ones as well. A few of these need the secateurs, but I'm going to do that later. Right, just going to do this one as well. Now that's a bit odd. We've got a branch growing right across the middle, which is pretty unbalanced.
How about coming back to here?
Yeah, I just made that decision.
And then that branch is coming out this way.
I just made that decision. We've been working together for a while, surely good night. Right, now the question is, yeah, I think that will be okay. That'll fruit for another year or two. Again, this one's too much in the middle. I often, when I'm trying to explain very briefly about pruning, I'll often say to people, here's your pruning. Okay, 5 branches. 5 branch systems. Take that one clean out, take that one clean out, and leave those 3 alone. And that's the best summary I can give in a short time.
And now this tree is a bit lopsided, so we need to reduce
Yeah.
some of the weight pulling
Well,
out
this one's
that way.
going into the other one. Bit of a mess. I'll tidy this all away later. Yeah, it's growing into there. We don't want branches too low because they impede the flow of air and they make it more difficult for us to manage. And we don't want branches too high because again they're difficult to prune, difficult to spray if you are spraying.
And to pick.
It's much easier to use the secateurs on smaller branches. Yeah, you don't want that. You'll notice I'm not doing a lot of small clipping. Again, this is too high. It's clogging up the centre of the tree. Just give you an idea of what I'm going to do here. Again, this is crossing. That's just, we don't want that really. Coming back to fruit buds, you've got to bear in mind that when these fruit, the weight of the fruit will pull the branch down like that. So when you're making your pruning cuts, you try and anticipate where it's going to go. I think that's about okay. Right, let's do this one as well, just to make 3 in a row. You're using your judgment because each time it's a little bit uncertain. You know, each tree is a bit different. Right, so that is a new. That's too low and that's overcrowding. What do we want? Okay.
Very congested, that tree, isn't it?
That's a bit congested, isn't it? Going to take this out. Always be careful when you're cutting through a branch within the tree not to zip through and lacerate the wood behind the cut that you're making. It's still a bit crowded in the middle, isn't it?
It is.
My way of pruning, which is mainly with a saw, taking out taking out whole branch systems with a big cut to create space, it works. It's not saying it's the only method that works, but it does work, and it saves the effort as well. Again, look at this. You see, this is branch. This is cropped. This is cropped. This is payless. This is not.
Well, that's why it's
waste.
down at that low level.
Don't look at it and say, why did you let a branch grow like that? Well, hold on. This would have been up here. This would a couple of years ago. You can see this would have been up here. It's had a heavy crop. It's been pulled down. It's set in its position. It's done its work. Got a bit of new wood here. 2-year-old wood here that's cropped. 3-year-old wood that's cropped. 4-year-old wood that's cropped. 5-year-old wood that's cropped. So yeah. This is why this is called the renewal method. So now we've got this little branch. This has now got space. You'll have some fruit on this, and you'll have some new shoots growing on from there. So that's now got space to grow. Take another bit out here. You'll often make a compromise. You can always return and do some pruning later. People often ask me what's the right time of year to prune, and as a rule I'll say, well, mainly for the shape of the tree, shaping your tree and doing your major overall pruning the winter, but summer pruning for maintaining balance. If you've got excessive growth, but with apple trees, there's no time of year when it's absolutely wrong to prune them. If you can see a pruning cut that should have been made but wasn't made, you can make it when the need becomes apparent. Yeah, I tend to just zip out branches like that which are growing into the middle of the tree. And keep always, stand back and take a look. As a rule, it is better to do slightly too little than slightly too much. My father once said to me, in the context of woodwork, he said it's quite easy to cut bits off, it's not so easy to stick them back on again. And do be careful not to cut yourself as well, so I'm wearing gloves. These silky blades will go through gloves if you're not careful, but the glove will give you some benefit. These are so sharp that just a little tap like that can leave you with a line of laceration, so the gloves, I think, are essential. Just standing back again. Yeah, there's still a couple of branches that are slightly too high. Get the cicadas out. I'm not a perfectionist. I believe in that good enough is good enough. And I'm not going to keep fiddling away. I've got a lot of trees now. I've pruned 3 trees. They're in 10 minutes? They just need a little bit more work on it. A little bit more work on it. Again, just looking up here, got a bit of a thicket of branches there.
Some more coming towards the middle in that section there.
Yeah. And again, I just tend to thin them out. See, most of the branch systems here I've left. Some I've removed entirely. A few I've just snicked away at very slightly. But that's about it. So, broadly speaking, that's how I prune these trees. And now I have to do the tidying up after me.
Mabel's helping you, she's picking up the prunings.
Mabel
She really wants you to throw them for her.
Yeah, a lot of people really. I've never been a pet person, but if I ever was a pet person, I would be a dog person, not a cat person. But that's another story. I saw the orchard cat yesterday with quite a large rabbit that she'd caught.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.